What a wild year it's been for VR. To celebrate the year of the Oculus Quest, I present to you my top 10 Oculus Quest games of 2019. For number 10, I was really torn between two Ninja games, Silento VR and Ninja Legends. But Ninja Legends squeaked by to earn the number 10 spot. This is a great example of simple game mechanics executed very well and with great design. You stand in one place with a variety of ninjas surrounding you trying to end your existence, so you need to respond in kind by ending their existence. The action happens all around you and becomes frantic, so the wireless nature of the quest is perfectly suited to this game because you can freely spin around without getting tangled up. I also love the arcadey nature of the combat. Using blades, you can slice through ninjas like butter.
Triple kill.
And can also easily deflect their projectiles back at them. But beyond the blades that you start with, you'll earn more advanced weaponry as you play more and more. The staff is my personal favorite. You'll also encounter tough boss battles that will truly test your ninja skills. This game is simple but very satisfying arcadey action. The price is $20. Number 9. Gadgeteer is the ultimate Rube Goldberg VR game come to life. You move yourself along by pushing and pulling with the grip buttons, and the default comfort vignette can be disabled. You can also hold grip and use the thumbstick to slide around. There are two modes of play, puzzle and sandbox. Puzzle mode is like a big campaign. The goal is to arrange objects and collisions to guide the ball from point A to point B. At first you start with simple dominoes, but more objects will be available to you as you progress. The entire puzzle campaign is cleverly designed to wind through a large room, so you follow a linear path throughout the room as you go from puzzle to puzzle. The puzzle campaign gets progressively more challenging, and there's a total of 60 levels, so it's a very large campaign. Sandbox mode is just as you would expect. You have an entire living space at your disposal with infinite supply of every object and gadget in your inventory. And if you enjoy tinkering in these kinds of Rube Goldberg games, then the sandbox mode could entertain you for a very long time. Gadgeteer is a fantastic puzzle game that's well made and addicting to play. The regular price is $15.
You know what I seek. Take the artifact key. Open the sanctum lock now.
Number 8. The Vader Immortal Trilogy.
Something's wrong, Captain. Let's go check it out.
So yeah, this is technically 3 separate experiences, but all 3 are clearly meant to be played back to back as one complete story. This is an interactive movie, where you progress through a linear arrangement of scenes with action sprinkled in along the way. The fact that this isn't a free-roaming Star Wars game could be a little disappointing, but this is by far the best interactive movie I've ever seen. You truly feel like you've stepped into the Star Wars universe here. The atmosphere is incredibly immersive, and the voice acting is top tier.
My name is Admiral Carius. In a moment, Darth Vader, Lord of this monolith, will give you a task at which you will undoubtedly fail.
For each experience, there's also a training dojo if you're craving a little more combat after finishing the story. You can choose between sliding movement or teleporting movement for all 3 chapters. I have a full Let's Play of this series on my channel if you're interested in watching the whole story. I'll link to that down below. I found this to be spectacular fun, and it's also a great choice to show to VR newcomers. All 3 chapters together will last a little over 2 hours. Each chapter is $10 for $30 total.
This is Admiral Carius of the Galactic Empire. Surrender control of your ship immediately.
This is ZOE3, first mate on the Windfall. Zoe to my friends, there must be some mistake. Admiral, the Windfall is a humble salvage vessel.
Number 7. Acron Attack of the Squirrels is a VR party game with 1 player in the headset and 2 to 8 people playing on smartphones or tablets. On the phone and tablet side, each player needs to download the companion app to play, but that's a free download. The VR player is a giant tree trying to protect their acorns. Everyone else is a cunning squirrel trying to steal the tree's acorns. So the goals are simple, but there's a surprising amount of strategy to be found in here. The tree has 3 things to throw at the squirrels: a simple rock, a blob of mush to slow them down, or a giant ball that if you hit with something else will explode. If a squirrel takes one of your acorns, you can hit the acorn to bring it back to you. As for the squirrel side, each player gets to choose from a handful of unique squirrels, each with special abilities. Chunk can protect others with a big shield. Doug can dig tunnels underground. Sim can build ramps and bridges, etc. I think this game is incredibly fun. It's easy to pick up and play right away for everyone, but you'll find depth in the strategy as the squirrels can coordinate their abilities together to advance on the tree. And the game is more intense for the tree player, as keeping track of all the squirrels and the abilities they have took up all of my brain and focus. The setup is really easy. When creating the game, the VR player chooses how many squirrels in total there should be. There needs to be 2 minimum real players, but beyond that, the game can fill in with AI players. The VR player hosts a game and gives everyone else a simple invite code that they input on their device to join the game. In our game, we chose 2 real people, but the game filled in with 4 AI squirrels to make 6 total. So to summarize, this is one of the best VR party games out there. It's super fun, and it has the highest production value for a party game that I've ever seen. Number 6. Shadowpoint is an Oculus exclusive puzzle game. In a visually minimal universe, you explore 2 different worlds: the Shadowpoint Observatory in our current world, as well as an alternate fantasy realm. And it's in the fantasy realm that you'll spend the majority of the game, as you're looking for someone who's become lost inside this realm. The story is driven by excellent voice acting, including narration by Sir Patrick Stewart.
Displacement was the key, leaving an object fall incorrectly, then returning from the right surface.
The core of the puzzle gameplay is about shadows and light. You're presented with a shape on a wall, and you need to match the shape of the shadow using objects that you find. Things start out very simply, but more and more puzzle mechanics will be added throughout the game. You'll eventually need to manage multiple sources of light, portals, changes in gravity, and even level design changes depending on your perspective. It's an extremely mind-bending journey that presents unique puzzle challenges. But even when I was confused by a puzzle, I had a great time because it's such a gorgeous game. I beat the game in 4.5 hours, but there were a handful of optional bonus puzzles that I couldn't solve. You can move via sliding or teleporting, and you can play standing or sitting. I enjoyed every minute of this game. The price is $20, and I highly recommend it. Number 5. Apex Construct is an action-adventure game that I think has been really underappreciated. The game is a mix of archery combat and puzzle exploration. I was surprised by how fresh the archery combat felt. At first, the archery is simple, but it quickly gets more strategic. For example, you'll eventually face off against bots that generate shields and can teleport to dodge your fire, but only a special arrow will take down their shields. And then you'll have a very limited window to switch your arrows and destroy the bot before the shield comes back, all while avoiding their attacks and looking out for other bots as well. The puzzle exploration elements are pretty straightforward. Most of the time, you'll be looking for codes and passwords to unlock new areas to explore. And often, you'll need to use old-school DOS commands on computers to get new information. There's a fair amount of voice narration as well. Your main guide sounds like Batman, so you may or may not find him annoying.
She is getting closer and closer to our safe house. It is the only place where I can keep you safe. So we need to stop her.
You can choose sliding movement or teleporting, it's your choice. I find Apex Construct to be a fresh and exciting action adventure. You can beat it in about 5 hours, and it's a must-play.
They are uncomfortably close to our base. Take them out quickly and return home. There is much to do, and too little time.
Number 4. Journey of the Gods is an Oculus exclusive fantasy adventure game. It's not an open world game, it's a linear adventure. However, this is one of the best linear adventure games I've ever played. The majority of the game is on the ground exploration combat. Armed with a trusty sword, shield, and crossbow, you need to traverse a beautiful and varied landscape full of enemies both large and small. And some of them are very, very large. Sometimes you'll need to enter a god form. In your god form, you'll have special abilities like throwing lightning, growing trees, and more. And as you progress through your journey, you'll be rewarded with more god powers. Your god form is limited by how much energy you have, like a timer, so you can't squander the time you spend in god form. Throughout each map, you'll find hidden artifacts that you can collect to upgrade your gear. After collecting 3 of the same artifact, you can visit the market to upgrade that piece of gear. Everything in this world has a striking original design, and the animation is exceptional. All of the monsters and people have distinct personalities, which is evident by the way they move and behave. This game really shines at breathing character and life into things with a relatively simple visual style. There's only sliding movement, but thankfully there is a comfort vignette option. At first I thought this was going to be more or less a dungeon crawler with lots of combat. And there is a lot of combat, but the game kept on surprising me with new things. The second act introduced plenty of puzzles into the game, but the third act completely surprised me. I won't spoil the details here, but the third act was amazing and greatly impressed me. It took me almost 6 hours to beat the game, so for the price of $30, I think it's a good value. If you enjoy fantasy combat adventures, then I highly recommend it. Number 3. SUPERHOT VR. Time moves when you move. This is the closest I've found to authentic Matrix-like combat. You'll feel like the ultimate badass taking down the red guys while controlling time. The campaign is almost like a puzzle game, since you always have limited resources and you have to be selective with the weapons and props you'll use to destroy the red guys. After beating the campaign, there are other play modes. My favorite is Endless. Survive as long as you can against unending streams of bad guys. It's super fun and a must-play for all VR players.
Quill was out adventuring beyond the edge of the clearing. Dusk was creeping in, but she wondered what she might find if she went just a little farther.
Number 2. Moss is a miniature platforming fairy tale adventure. You control a mouse named Quill, but you yourself are actually involved in the game as well. You need to physically arrange and manipulate objects with your hands throughout the game. And you're also included in the story as it progresses.
But she felt no danger from the being silently peering down at her.
Right out of the gate, I have to say that every element of this game is platinum grade. The writing, the character animation, the environments, the sound design, the voice acting, everything. The attention to detail the developers gave to this game is astounding, and in my opinion, it lacks nothing. It's one of the most polished games I've ever played, and it's certainly the best platformer. My wife and I have very different tastes in games, but we both equally love Moss. That's a big testament to the wide appeal this game has. Along with the included DLC, there's about 4 hours of gameplay in here. So even though it's one of the most expensive games on this list at $30, it's absolutely worth every penny. Finally, number 1. Lambda 1 VR is a complete port of the original Half-Life game, fully playable on your Oculus Quest. And it's an exceptional port. The crowbar swinging is legit with the motion controllers, and the other weapon handling feels great as well. Whether or not you've played this before, it's a perfect time to play this in VR before Half-Life Alyx comes out. But know that there's only sliding movement, so if you're prone to motion sickness, you may have trouble playing this one. This is the only game that isn't available on the official Quest store. To install this, you'll need to own the original game from Steam and sideload it using a PC. In the video description below, I'll link to the page with all the details. Well, that's it for now. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you see, please subscribe. See ya!